Afternoon, depending where you are in the world. Thank you for joining Platform 9. It's my first live stream for a while. My name's Chris Jones. Been with Platform 9 for some years now. Used to lead our product organization, and now I'm in the field working directly with customers again. With me today is Anderson. I'll let him introduce himself and provide a little bit of his background, and then we'll probably jump straight in.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Anderson Oliveira here, talking to you from Portugal. It's a pleasure to be here in the Platform 9, displaying a little bit about this earned value. I've been working with this when I was on my previous life of project management, and now just recently in FinOps. Not actually recently, more than 2, maybe 3 years for now. And it will be a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Anderson. As Anderson touched on, earned value management is our topic for today. All focused on FinOps. If people are coming in thinking, "Oh, well, I really want to see a demo of Platform 9," that is not going to happen today. This is definitely a demo-free zone. There's plenty of that stuff on YouTube if you want to see it, or just hit our website and grab a time with one of us. Earned value management, I guess, I came across it through one of Anderson's posts on LinkedIn, and I kind of went, wow, this is cool. I've never seen this before. Clearly, I've never done project management. And it really immediately sort of like drew my interest, because I was like, oh, I can see, even if I'm under budget, that if my sales are going down or whatever metric I'm using to track success by is not delivering the business outcomes, you can see immediately that you need to like make a change, either in your budget or in the actual cost of what you're spending to run that system or that service that's providing something either internally or externally to your business. That's what got my interest. So we connected over LinkedIn. We thought let's get together and do a live stream on the topic.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you put like this, because intuitively, when we are running the cloud and we know that we are having a certain trend of spend, we need to compare with the results that we're getting. And it's something that when we are on the road for a while, we feel that we need to do that. And normally we do this analysis with numbers as in isolation. And I think that the great value that this technique brings to the table is to display in just one graph and with just a few KPIs the whole picture, the relationship between your usage and the value that you're generating, and allows you to have early signs in order to maybe change the course, replan, or do any other corrective actions.
It's Yeah, I mean, as I read your post, that was the thing that stood out. And in 2020, some people that are, I guess, familiar with Platform 9 might be like, oh, you guys are like a Kubernetes shop. And in 2020, we had a free Kubernetes platform where you could just bring your own infrastructure, and we'll allow you to use Platform 9 and turn that into Kubernetes environments. AWS, Azure, on-prem, Edge, wherever you want it to be running. I ran that as the director of product management, and we paid a really close attention to how much we were spending on that, right? We're looking at, obviously marketing spend. We're looking at our cloud hosting because we're a SaaS company. And we went through a number of different things to control spend, some cost saving initiatives, get some spend reductions out there. And we re-architected, we did a whole bunch of things we can dive into later. I decided to take this approach for earned value management for this session, to kind of retroactively fit it to what we did. So as we sort of go through, Anderson, your presentation, I'm going to ask some questions about like, well, how should have I done that if I had this in 2020 all the way through to 2022 when we shut it down? And I think it's going to shed some light on things I think we would have picked up earlier, and maybe actions we would have taken differently. So
Great,
hopefully everyone can get
great.
some like tangible, some tangible sort of use cases or stories out of this session as well.
Now it's going to be an interesting exercise. Just for everybody know, I have the presentation done, but this part of the challenge going to happen really live here. So let's see how it goes.
Indeed, indeed.
All right, so let
Excellent.
me go run through this here real quick so we can get to the meat of the session. It's really quantify FinOps business value. As you know, this is one of the domains of the new framework that has been released by FinOps Foundation just recently. And this is the picture of the, and it seems that the presentation is not showing completely. Let me.
Yeah, that's a bit odd. It's still showing the taskbar. I've never seen that before. That might be a interesting Google Slides view. Or if you want Anderson, there we go. Done. It's just the presentation now. Oh, I think your audio just dropped out. Technical problems. Still no audio. Sorry, people, for this slight technical difficulty. Things happen when you do live streams. So the area that Anderson was bringing up as he was pulling up those slides, I'll touch on. There's a new framework out from the FinOps Foundation, or a revised framework, and now we definitely have audio back. That Anderson was going to jump in and show exactly
Hello,
where.
hello.
Yep, we've got you. I can hear
Okay,
you loud and
yeah.
clear.
Something went wrong here. Sorry for the technical difficulties here. I'm really sorry about that. Let me go back to the presentation again.
That's right. We got the slides, and then your your audio dropped. Perfect.
Okay, okie dokie. Now we are ready to continue. So I was about to say about the context. This is the new reframed framework. Earned value fits perfectly in the planning estimate on the quantify business value, as we're going to need exactly all the capabilities that we have in there: planning, estimating, forecasting, budgeting, benchmarking, and unit economics. Earned value really touch all of these areas. A little bit of why we're doing this exactly, or how this can help the community. On the last data that came from the last survey from the FinOps Foundation, we see that 57% of the respondent increased organization attendant on the following topics. So budget granularity, this is something that is a need for earned value to work. Accuracy of forecast to actual spend, you're going to see that this is something earned value can do as well. And 56% expectations on adherence to budget, which is what we everybody wants to do, and this has to do with this domain as well.
I mean, that's half. That's half of the people that answered the survey said they have problems with budget forecasting
Mhm.
and hitting expectations.
Yes,
And
exactly. And we
I
will
think that,
see that through earned value, we are able to get early signs of that. We don't need to wait until the end of the period to get that impression. So early on the budget cycle, you will be able to see if you're on path, on your track or not, and then you're going to be able to do informed decisions about that.
Yeah, and I think another area that earned value management really piqued my curiosity was if you're trying to get buy-in from an engineering organization, cool, you might have unit economics, cool, you might have a budget. You really need those engineers, platform engineers, the software engineers, your production operations teams, to be bought in. And what this immediately does is it allows you to take that unit economic, take that budget, and show that, hey, look, your sales might not be performing, which means we really do need to focus right now on that spend reduction. Otherwise, at the end of the
Exactly.
year, you're going to have, or the end of the quarter, if you're a listed company, right, you're going to have some unhappy shareholders.
Exactly. Absolutely. So, what is earned value actually? It is a project management methodology for objectively measuring project performance and progress and for forecasting project outcome. This is the definition from the technique, and actually, this technique is something very old, I would say. It started in on the 60s, 1960s,
Wow.
with the U.S. Department of Defense as a technique to keep track of the projects that they had. And in that time, of course, they didn't have the computational capacity that we have here. Probably they are doing that on spreadsheets or manual spreadsheets, but the technique is really simple to do and to calculate, and that was something that showed very effectively that it works. After that, thousands and thousands of papers and materials has been produced by earned value management, and some researches indicates that this has the usage of this technique has a moderate to high impact, positive impact on project success. Me personally, I have my first contact with this technique early in my career back in 2022 when I was doing my first MBA on project management. And I was introduced to this topic, and it sounds very intriguing to me in the sense that it was hard for me to understand, and then I dig into this more and more until I was able to really grasp what that really is, shake off all of the fluffies that people were putting on top of that, just making this something very, mystic. Just very knowledgeable people would know that. And I said, well, wait a minute, let me dive into it. And I said, no, this is something actually very easy to understand, but yet very effective. Just so you know, today this technique is used, is mandatory in major institutions, the DoD, NASA, the I forgot this one here. This is the Marine for England, Project Management Institute. I mean, very big organizations all over the world have that as part of their rules of ways of working. Many project managers are using that. And I think that it's now time for us to, on the FinOps areas, to start thinking about using this a little bit, because inner value answer the same questions that we in cloud cost management have. So number one, where have we been, how much we have spent, where are we now compared to the plan, and based on our current performance, where are we going to be landing or where are we going? And in order to do that, you just need three data points. The PV here works as the planned value or the budget value. The AC stands for actual cost, and earned value is the planned value times percent complete. The reason, Chris, I decided to keep the same nomenclature for the FinOps context, because I know that each one of these may have different names within our context. But the reason why I decided to keep the same thing, because there is a vast amount of work done and researches and articles, videos everywhere in the internet. As I said, as this is started on the 60s, there is tons of value of materials in there, many studies, evaluations, and simulations. So we can, by having the same nomenclature being used, it opens the FinOps community to a universe that can be used more and more in order to capture the business value and do this from the simplest setup to the most complex setup.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense as well. And I think as FinOps grows, there's going to be more project managers coming on board. So that also means any project manager that's been like, oh hey, I've used earned value management before, they can go, I can now use the same approach, technique, systems they've set up. I mean, Excel runs the world. They've probably got a spreadsheet with the formulas built in that they've used to track stuff before. So it means those project managers can also come on board, um, and have an easier on ramp, right? What you've talked to is it's easier to learn, better for research. It's going to make adoption quicker. So I think it's also going to make it easier for those project managers that are saying, right, I need to do FinOps now. How do I adapt what I already know?
Exactly, exactly. So I just want to, before showing the calculations, what it's required for using the Quantify Business Value domain capabilities. The earned value management will need the plan, will need the budget, and the unit economics is something I think that for the project managers that are listen to this, this is the portion that differs our technique from project management. And then benchmarking and forecasting is roughly the same. And I think that the catch here is understanding the unit economics, because this is the measure that will connect the usage to the value that the business is expecting.
Yeah, and that unit economic, you can even, if you're an engineering team and you're watching this and you're like, oh, hey, I want to prototype this, you can do this with any unit economic that you want and any budget that you guys have. Like it could be S3 Glacier storage, right? Super cheap. You can still get the rate of usage. You can time box it. You can look at your forecasted budget or your allocated budget for the year, and then you can apply this, right? So it can be done for the sale of, I don't know, sunglasses through your e-commerce store, all the way through down to the smallest units of the smallest service teams that make the thumbs up button for your favorite Netflix TV show.
Exactly, exactly. So let's see how it works. I will do here very simple calculation. Suppose that you have a budget cycle that starts in January and finish in December, and your budget is the total of uh, 1,200. Roughly, you're going to be spending 100. I mean, your plan says that you're going to be spending 100 per month, and the PV is the simple cumulative of that. So 100 plus 100, and so on and so forth, so that you can get to the amount of 1,200 in here. And here on the graph, you will see the progression of that. So far, so good, very simple. And here comes the catch. It's the percent complete, which is in this context going to be the unit economic target divided by the unit economic of the month. And here, let me stop a little bit and dwell with this a little bit. Maybe companies are not doing this as part of their planning process, but as an input, it would be similar, like your company needs to determine for that period how much of that unit economic you want to get throughout the months and until the end of the year. Examples for if you're e-commerce could be number of orders, cost per unit for per order, or cost per number of customers, or cost per number of new items, what have you. You would need to get more into this and take this very seriously, in the sense that the unit economics is the measurement that will point to the value that you are expecting, and based on this expectation, you will measure every month where you are on that and compare through a percentage to what you were expecting from coming from your planning.
So this is
Uh,
this is my first question.
yeah.
So the unit economic target. Let's say I'm running Platform 9 free tier and we want to have 300 signups a month. And if my budget is $100. So
hmm
would that be my per sign up portion of that budget is the unit economic target?
So your unit economic target will be, say that again. What was the business metric?
We're tracking signups. So we wanted
Yeah,
we wanted 300
signups.
signups a month.
Yeah. So you need to calculate what is the cost per sign up. Okay, maybe you have $100 per sign up, and this is simply dividing the number of the total cost that you have by the signups that you have on that period. So that will give you your unitarian number of or the real unit cost that you're looking for, the unit
So
economic.
if I said my budget was 100 and my sign up target was 300, I would do the division. That would give me the target number, the top number, right?
Yes, that's your target.
And then the bottom number would be, well, I had 250 signups, and that would be against the amount I actually
Yeah.
spent.
Yes, until that moment that you're doing the measurement.
Yeah, because I think all of this is cumulative, right, over the course of the year.
Yes, exactly. So one catch here, one important point, two important points here is that earned value, we always see this as cumulative, and you always need to determine a point in time where you're going to take the measurement. So signups, until in this example here, we are on the month of May, let's say. So you're gonna see the total signups and the total cost, and so you're gonna have a cost per signups by divided one by the other, and then
Yeah.
that number goes down here, and you have here your target, how much you would
So
expect until the end of the year.
so the target, is that fixed? I did that once. My
Yes.
budget my budget is 100. My target is 300. Do the division. So that number never changes. So if it's $80 per sign up
Yeah,
for the
it
whole
doesn't
year,
change.
it's consistent.
Yes. Well, when we will, the only moment that you're gonna change this is if you're gonna revise your plan. Okay. So maybe for some reason you see that this is not realistic, or maybe it's too low. You will reshuffle. This blue line is gonna change, okay, because you're gonna have another budget. You're gonna have another percent or another unit economic put as target. But as soon as you lock your plan and your objectives, that will not change.
Cool. Right. These were my questions as I was going through, sort of, as I said, trying to retroactively apply this. I was like, all right, these are the things you just need to get right up front,
Yes,
and then
absolutely.
you get this really very clear picture.
For example, on the month of January, you have 130%. What this means is that your cost per sign up was 30% above what you were expecting. So you were going really good. On month two, it was another 130%. right? So you are performing better than you were expecting when you did the plan. So with this, you go on and on. So you get the planned value, which is this column, times the percent complete. You're going to have the earned value. Earned value is how much you earned based on how much you have completed comparing to what you have planned. Because think of this, the plan could be, which is your budget, is an amount of money, it's a real money that has been reserved for that period. So
So
when yeah, go ahead.
so my unit economic month. So if I had 360 signups, that's 360 against the planned budget of 100, not the actual spend.
So it's going to be, in order to calculate the unit economic of the month, you're going to take the total cost of that month and divide by the number of signups that you have, sorry, the total cumulative that you have spent until that point of the month, and divide by the total number of signups that you had.
So
And
I'm taking what I've
this is
spent.
not
I'm
this
looking
is
at my
not
Amazon bill, and I'm like, my costs.
yeah,
I'm using my real outputs from my AWS spend.
right,
Yeah, we
exactly,
might be jumping
exactly.
ahead.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And that's exactly what it is. And in this presentation, I didn't put anything related on how do you calculate the unit economics. But let's assume that you have, let's say on your example, the signups and how much you have spent until that moment that you're doing the measurement. In this case, on the month 5. So you're gonna go to AWS or Azure. You're gonna take the graph, how much of amortized cost you get until that moment in time, and divide that by the number of signups.
Excellent. This is the bit when my brain was just like, all right, I need to figure this out. Put into a
Yeah,
spreadsheet.
yes, exactly. So moving on here, just made up an actual cost here. You went to the Amazon or GCP or Azure console, and you got the actual cost in each one of the months. And AC, that stands for actual cost, is a cumulative number until the measurement period. And you have the 3 data points that I mentioned on the couple of slides prior: the planned value, the earned value, and the actual cost. And by drawing on the graph, it keeps very clearly where you are. So the other, then the first KPI that you get from this, and that's my favorite one, is the CPI, that stands for cost performance indicator, that you get this by dividing earned value by actual cost. And this is really the cost variance. This cost variance is amazing in the sense that if you didn't have the red line, which is the earned value, you would think that what you're earning during this period would be the difference of what you have budgeted against your actual cost. But in this situation, you earn much more than that, because you're earning the difference between the earned value and the cost variance. Why? Because the value that you're getting is represented by the red line. Considering the unit economics, that is a demonstration of the value that you're expecting. And the difference here is really what you get from it. I have a couple of slides above, after that, one that will show you the forecasting, because based on this progression, on this performance, allows us to do some calculations in very simple calculations in order to see how much we're going to be getting until the end. So wait a little
so
bit that I will touch about that.
so essentially, I can say marketing is doing a great job. I've got more people coming onto my website. They're signing up. They're using our product. And engineering's doing a great job because even though we're doing 30, 40, 50, 60% better in usage than we thought we would be doing, our budgets, our actual usage, our actual cost hasn't even come close to our planned budget yet. So it's really
Yes.
highlighting that success. So then I guess from a forecasting perspective, you could go and say, well, if 60% extra users still using 12% under budget, you can sort of almost extrapolate forward a little bit what that could look like. I mean, sometimes
Yes.
services don't necessarily scale that way, right? Sometimes an application will be bubbling along fine. Obviously, you hit 5,000 and you've got a problem, but that's pretty cool.
Yes, yes, it is, and it goes beyond that comparison of budget versus actuals. Is what normally we have, but we put in perspective how much we expect to get on the business as a whole. For example, I will show a second scenario here that is exactly the same, but I changed the percent complete, all right, which is the measurement of unit economics, relationship between unit economics. And by multiplying one by the other, per planned value by percent complete, you're going to get your earned value, okay? Actuals remains the same, but see that the CPI has changed here. So prior to earned value, you would say that we are in a good position here. Why?
Yeah,
Because I am spending less than what has been budgeted, right? Engineering team would be happy. Maybe many people would be happy because we're doing right sizing, optimization, all this good stuff, and we are getting the result of that based on what was expected. But that doesn't tell the whole story, because on the other side of the fence there is something going on that we are not getting the result that we were expecting. And by drawing on the graph the earned value, you see that we are earning less than what we are spending, and even less than what has been planned. And this is the real cost variance. All right. So what this graph shows is that um, we are not in a good position here. We need to do something, because if we continue on this trend, um, the business is not going to fly. We either need to adjust the unit economics by not changing the number to make it fit, but maybe do a real evaluation. Are we being realistic with our expectation? I see that engineering is doing all that they can, but maybe we need to retire some stuff because they are not needed for the result. I don't know. I'm just saying things,
yeah,
but everybody here it's something that will just trigger the conversation.
and I think this is where it's really powerful for engineering teams and business owners to be able to sit down and have a very realistic discussion about what's happening in terms of sales and actual outcomes for the company. I think it's very easy to say, well, I work somewhere and we sell stuff online, and we launched a new machine learning capability, and yeah, it's using some inference services, but it's going to show everyone exactly what they want, right? When they come to our website, we're going to recommend based on all of their shopping all over the internet and all of the tracking we've done. We're going to show them the item they need the fastest with the best price, and they're going to buy. Now, that's
Yes.
probably going to put your costs up. And if it's not being as effective, so therefore sales aren't coming through, or maybe sales kept the same, but you've increased your cost basis, it's going to show up here immediately.
Yes, it will. and
And then you can
and
have that discussion, right?
exactly, exactly. So this is a great tool in the sense that of course it will not solve the problem. We can see this just as a post check. You're kind of checking how you are, and maybe you get a high blood pressure result, And this is what earned value is. Now, what you're gonna do with that? The result of the exam doesn't tell you what you need to do. You need to go to the hospital, talk to the doctor, need to see what's going on, what you're doing with your life. But what the blood pressure does is just to indicate your current status at the moment that you take the measurement. Maybe
I
10
would,
minutes later gonna be okay because you just went up on the stairs and your heart is beating like a drum. And okay, so let's wait a little bit and measure that again. Okay, could
yeah,
be, or maybe
maybe,
not.
yeah, maybe you change something in marketing, right? That could be
Yeah,
it, right?
that could be
Or
it.
it's what was I was buying an airfare just recently to fly back to Australia, and I was using Air New Zealand. I had applied the flight credit, and then it was like, well, you need to pay a little bit more. Put in your credit card details. So I did. Scroll to the bottom. I hit pay now. Didn't work. So I just kept on hitting it, and eventually it worked. And then it didn't tick it, and then it took my flight credits. I'm like, what happened? Right? Everyone that's doing that, they're going to hit the same problem I hit. Turned out I didn't hit save for the credit card.
Uh-huh.
So
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
That's costing them money, right? That's hitting their back end services. That's going to a payment gateway, right? That's using a lot of things they should be tracking. All of a sudden, I'm seeing my costs go up because I'm seeing a lot more API requests, right? And buying stuff online is not a simple process, right? They hit their back end ticketing system. I went through all of their seat selection stuff. I had to use their credit usage back end, whatever supporting that, and they had to run an Amex credit card to, in the end, have me make a phone call. So their cost of that sale went way up for the simple purpose of someone there changed their checkout process.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
visually, the button that says save credit card doesn't look like, it's not a primary button. It's not the big thing that you think you should click. And the pay now
Yeah.
button doesn't check. It just lets you click pay now as many times as you want. I'm like, this is crazy UX. I'm like, someone needs to rethink this. Or if
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
tracking it appropriately, they will be seeing that their costs are going up, but their sales are the same, right? Because they've got a fixed number of seats.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Makes sense?
Do you
Yeah.
see?
Anyhow.
Yeah, it's exact. This is the real interesting type of conversation that emerges out of the a report like that. Because if everything was okay, probably people wouldn't be having this type of conversations. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting, right? Because there's a lot of things that will change your cost of sales, your cost of goods, right? Cloud services are a cog. Um, Me not understanding the website and clicking more buttons is ultimately a cost of sale, right?
Yep.
If you're expecting
Exactly.
3 API requests per interaction, and all of a sudden you make a UX change and you've got 55 happening because users don't know what they're doing, so they're clicking everything trying to figure out what's going on. All of a sudden, right, you're not seeing the outcomes, and you're just going to see an actual cost go up.
Yep.
People are going to start
Yep.
freaking out, right?
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about forecasting. How do we do forecasting here? And here, forecast we ever in earned value is not a way to predict how much you're going to be spending. It kind of the same thing, sounds the same, but it's not. It's just by saying like if you keep the same pace where that we have today, this is where you're going to be landing. This is what this forecasting in this situation means. It will not apply any AI stuff that will try to predict usage and the very complex. No, no, just like this. It's a post check. It says, okay, if you continue with this high pressure measurement, you're gonna die in 5 days. Okay, I don't want to die in 5 days. So what you gonna do? I will change something. Okay, and if you change something, what's gonna happen? Okay, you're gonna live more 20 years. Okay, all right, so I will do something. This is what this is telling you. It's where you're gonna land if you continue on the same pace that you are. In this example, I change a little bit the numbers so that it show just to show nicely on the graph. So how do you calculate that? You take the last CPI that you have, and then you multiply this for each one of the planned values. So 700 times 1.53, 800 times 1.53, 900 times 1.53, and so on and so forth. And you're going to have these numbers in here. These numbers are, you put then on top of the actual cost. So actual cost is done, okay? It's sunk cost. So if you sum these numbers on top of your actual cost, where you will be landing if you continue the same performance that you have. So basically what is saying that at the end of the period, you will be around $800 compared to initially forecasted of 1200. Okay. And the company that I worked before, something very similar to that happened. When we were here on the mid-year, they have a process to review budget 2 times per year. And one moment that they do that is on really on between May and June. And we get to this point, and my forecasting was showing a similar situation to this. So what they decided to do based on this, and after some conversations with the engineering team and marketing team, was to give back this portion of this money. So the end goal wouldn't be 1200 anymore. It would be something around 850, something like that. Allowed a little bit of a buffer, but it was not this total month amount. And this amount that was reserved for hosting was spent on the company somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? So
They
when
threw a big summer party. They gave it to the teams and they said, "We're gonna go out. We're gonna have a nice dinner."
they're gonna go out and have a nice dinner and so on, and if they do this, this blue line act definitely gonna change. It will go a little bit in this direction here, kind of thing. uh we will still need to keep track very strictly on how things are going on, in order to make sure that we're not going over what was has been planned. But either way, it triggered the conversation. They don't want to have this total amount here sitting in the bench without being applied somewhere else. So let's put this somewhere else on the business, so that we can take the best usage of the amount of money that we have available to for the product.
Yeah, I mean, you could do. I mean, one thing you could do is just take that money and spend it on marketing,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're sort of really seeing a lot of efficiencies through your back end services, being able to handle additional user load and it's scaling well, and you're really well below, then why not make more money, right? That's got to be good for everyone's bonus, right?
Exactly.
So maybe if you increase that marketing spend, sales go up, and if your if your bonus is a thing that's set on company performance of sales, then you get a bigger bonus. If it's EBITDA, you're kind of winning either way. But if it's EBITDA and you increase sales and you keep the costs still below the budgets, then you're also doing really well.
Exactly. This graph here, Chris, is a real example of my previous experience where we used this technique. You can see here the CPI, and I think it was on the month of August that we took this post check. Yes, it's right here, August. And I was doing the CPI calculation, and we were applying this in the general number that this top of portion of the graph would represent. But the beauty of this technique is that you can break it down. If you have a budget, if you have a multi-cloud strategy in your product, and you have a budget for each one of the cloud providers, you can do the same exercise for each one of them. The forecast here is a simple calculation, as I just showed before, multiplying the planned value of this cloud provider times the percent complete. All right, and then you go on and for we have a list here of others cloud providers as well that we could see. You know, and to put the lenses inside of that, And you can, imagine other things that we could do. For example, if you have lots of engineering teams, you can do the same report by team if you're able to capture the three data points, which is the actual cost, the planned value, and the earned value. You can break it down as much as you can. This one here is also done by month, but I did another thing that was interesting, which is, by extrapolating the month as a period of 30 days, if you divide that month budget by 30, let's say, you have the daily budget, and then you can have this number being calculated in a daily fashion as well. All right.
Fascinating.
So
Yeah, I mean,
it's,
you're using Data Studio, sorry, Looker for this, right? Which I think is
yes.
a great tool. Anyone that has, maybe Power BI or access to Looker, any team can very quickly put this together, right? You make a spreadsheet, you attach it, you can make these visualizations, you can share that dashboard with your team, you can have it up on the screen if you've got an office, if you go to the office. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in
It,
our
and
office. Um,
and you can see that close to real time earned
yeah,
value calculation. So
yeah,
as soon as you have the actuals from the cloud provider, you have the ability to calculate that. And this is just
I
an
think that's an
example. You
important
can,
push to be able to get that real time metrics coming through. I know the FinOps
yes,
community is pushing focus. I think that's going to be a great thing for the community to adopt. Standardizing the inputs means creating this type of report across multiple clouds. Even the tier two cloud providers will make it so much easier.
exactly. So the conclusion here that I have, the key takeaways is that you need to have a budget plan, a sound budget plan. I think that this is the heart of the process. Uh, and the lungs would be the unit economics. You have to have that well understood, because this is going to be the connection between the value and the usage. CPI is, to me, is the single number that you need to have in order to know how much, if you're going well or not, and even compare between areas. So if a CPI is above one, this means that you're doing well compared to not only the plan but the expected value outputs that for your company. But if the CPI is below one, this means that things are not as you had expected, probably going to trigger some conversation. And the last but not least, also understand that the earned value is a snapshot. It's a reflection of the current of the state of a point in time. It can be different on on the moment later or 1 week way later, because the amounts in there are going to be different. But this is just like I said, it's a post check. It's at that moment, what is the current state, and based on that you will trigger the conversation. But the difference here, or the advantage, is that going to be a much more informed conversation based on data, and not on thoughts on your head or impressions or things like that.
Yeah, I think one of the areas that I see on this that teams could apply is, let's say you're doing a retrospective, you do continuous deployments, let's say you do a release every 2 weeks. You sprints 2 weeks, you do a release every 2 weeks. This could be part of your retrospective because you can
Yep.
see the actual change of what's happening. And if you're tracking weekly snapshots on a every 2 week release, then you've got a good time period, right? And you can start really bringing in, I think, some things that might sometimes be a little bit nebulous for engineering teams. You can feel a little bit sort of away from what's happening from the product and sales and marketing. But this really does allow you to bring it in, and as a leader, you can say, right, we did our part. We released this new capability. Let's say it is a recommender system, and it's performing well. The user feedback system we put in there, we're getting lots of thumbs up. It's people are happy with what it's doing, but the cost increase is so great that we might need to rethink how often we're showing that to a user, right? Does every
Mm-hmm.
user get that, right? And then engineering will be like, well, can we drive more sales? If this is, you know, if this is something that's, increasing conversion rates, people are buying more, and they're loving the shopping experience, maybe we just need to get more people to this and see what happens there, right? So I think it can really sort of open up a little bit more discourse within your organization and your engineering teams, and I think you can start, getting people a little bit more front office that might feel that they're a little bit more back office. Or maybe I'm just being a bit too hopeful. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Chris, I think that this is all that I had to present today. So I think that we were able to run through the what is the technique, how to get this calculated. Hopefully, I was successful to explain that this is not rocket science. It's really simple to grasp and to calculate. Maybe the portion that people will need to put more thought is on how to get the percent complete compared to the considering the unit economics. I understand that this portion may be a little bit, you know, and I've been putting a lot of thoughts on how to resolve that, how to make this even simpler. But anyway, once you have the data points in place, then it's really really easy to calculate.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's worth taking that time with your teams, with your product managers, your product owners, with your sales organization, figuring out those numbers. And I mean, and as I was sharing, I'm going to do this retrospectively. I'll probably put a blog out there on this topic. We'll chop this video up and we'll reshare it in smaller bite-sized pieces on the individual topic areas to make it a little bit more consumable. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think Anderson, you touched on it, and thank you very much for joining and sharing this. I love how you've contributed this to the community. Right, I'm hoping that at FinOps X we can have some conversations about this in San Diego. Um, I think it's a very powerful technique. I think you touched on the pieces that people struggle with. I mean, it's what I hit immediately. Right, I started trying to do this. I'm like, wait a second, is it here
Uh-huh.
or is it here? Am I applying this bit? Or am I applying that bit? I'm looking at my charts. I'm like, that doesn't seem quite right. I'm
Uh-huh.
sure I probably could have asked Perplexity, but I figured we'll be here and chatting. So let's just do it live. So thank you very much for your contribution and sharing this. I'm hoping that more and more organizations around the world start trying to adopt it.
Yeah, me too. I really appreciate the chance and to give me this platform to share this idea.
Yeah.
I'm just a practitioner. I just work for a practitioner within a company. I got this idea, and I really like this environment of open source and share. And my intent was really to put this out for as many people as possible. I want to hear people challenging the ideas, making questions and evolving this, and looking forward to see more real examples. Not only the one that I use in my company that I work for, but others example on how people were able to apply that and get value out of that. So I
Yeah, I've
appreciate
definitely got to
this
get
chance.
I'm going to get the product team here at Platform 9 to apply it to our SaaS product, right? We have costs. We use
Oh
different
wow,
hosting
that's going
providers
to
all
be
around America.
great.
Yeah, I mean, like, we're getting into this FinOps space, and I think a big
Mm-hmm.
part of it is contributing, back to the community. It's part of the Linux Foundation, and everyone will grow together. I'm sure people are sort of seeing popping up the screen here. We do have a newsletter that comes out, so if you want to subscribe to that, this will be in here. Other bits and pieces around, what we've specifically focused on in the world of FinOps will be part of that, and we also have a FinOps survey that we'll be sharing out with everyone. Got some great prizes there. We're really looking forward to learning a little bit more about where people struggle specifically with Kubernetes in the public cloud and what challenges they're facing in terms of tuning for utilization and optimizing using different types of compute, something like a spot inst or an ARM processor from one of the different cloud providers. So if you are interested in contributing to that and maybe winning a MacBook, check out that QR code that's up on the screen today. And with that, Anderson, we'll wrap, and we'll definitely be in touch. We'd love to do another couple of these on this topic and see what we can do.